The dawn broke over Lysoria with a gentle brilliance, casting ethereal hues across the thatched rooftops nestled within the vibrant Ravenspire forest. The village thrived amidst a sea of magical creatures and flora, their symphony of whispers weaving a serene lullaby. Today, however, unease prickled the air. Caden, a youthful dreamweaver with untamed auburn curls and eyes sparkling like twin emeralds, stood by the edge of the village, feeling an unsettling frisson course through his veins. It was the enchantment. It waned, causing a peculiar dimness to settle upon the valley, as shadows pooled within the once lustrous grove. Caden glanced at his lifelong friend Zephyr, a mischievous fox spirit with an ever-twitching tail. "The wardens say it's temporary," Caden muttered, repeating the reassurances from the village elders, though doubt laced his tone. Zephyr snorted, his ethereal form flickering in and out of visibility, a telltale sign of the weakening enchantment. "Temporary? I'd say it's more like a storm cloud that forgot where to go," he quipped, trying to lighten the mood. "It's more than that, Zeph, if the enchantment fails completely." "Shush!" Zephyr interrupted, his amber eyes narrowing into slits. "Look who's coming." Breathing heavily from a swift trek through the underbrush, a sentinel warrior emerged, the stoic figure of Seraphine. Her reputation as the fiercest protector of Lysoria was known far and wide, and yet today, even her confident stride seemed strained. "Caden, you've sensed it too," she stated, her voice a force of calm amidst brewing anxiety. "The fading magic touches everything. It's time we find the source." Her words were laced with urgency that shook Caden from his fears. Zephyr twitched beside them, casting a skeptical glance. "And where exactly do we start poking around? Oh, fearless leaders. It's not like we've got a map to this mess." Caden exhaled slowly, the weight of responsibility pressing heavily upon his young shoulders. "We start," he replied, determination hardening his resolve, with the ancient runes at the Elden Hollow. There, hidden within whispered legends and forgotten tales, lay the first thread of their wayward tapestry. The path forward was murky, yet alongside this feisty fox spirit and steadfast warrior, Caden felt the stirrings of hope in the depths of his heart. Together they would fight to preserve the land they loved, the Shimmering Valley. The journey to Elden Hollow was shrouded in a gloom that clung to the trio like a second skin. As they moved through the sinuous paths of Ravenspire, the once luminous canopy overhead crackled with a strange silence, the leaves trembling at an unseen chill. Each step seemed to echo with the fading heartbeats of their precious valley. Caden kept his eyes trained on Seraphine, who moved with the fluency of a seasoned warrior. Her presence was a tangible comfort, her posture the epitome of vigilance. Zeph, on the other hand, voiced much of what Caden himself kept buried under layers of worry. "Not one jingle bell or glitter burst," Zephyr commented dryly, hopping deftly over some gnarled roots. "What gives? It's like the festival decorations forgot their spark." "The enchantments that sustain the valley are interconnected," Seraphine explained, her voice dropping to a whisper as they neared the hollow. "If one falters, others follow." Caden's gaze was drawn to the ground, where the vibrant colors of the flora seemed muted, wilting. "And if we don't, then it'll all turn to dust," Zeph finished for him. Their tense exchange was interrupted by the sound of a soft, unfamiliar melody drifting through the air. It was an enchanting tune, at once compelling and slightly mournful. They had reached Elden Hollow, a hidden haven within Ravenspire, untouched by time but echoing with its songs. At the hollow's heart lay the ancient runes, inscribed on stoic stone slabs circled by ever-watchful willows. They flickered with an otherworldly luminescence, casting a gentle glow even as their power frayed. Caden approached them, drawn to the enigmas etched into the rock. His fingertips brushed the surface, where he could feel the ancient magic pulsing faintly beneath the crumbling runes. "Do you really think these can help?" Zephyr asked, his usual bravado tempered by a rare glimpse of vulnerability. "They have to," Caden whispered, subconsciously echoing the resolve that began taking root alongside his trepidation. "We must decipher their meaning." Seraphine's eyes met his, a flicker of shared determination passing between them. "Then we begin," she resolved, and together they commenced their work, not merely as individuals, but as a unified force, hoping to rekindle the light of the Shimmering Valley from these fading echoes of the past. Under the shadowed boughs and the watchful eyes of ancient trees, Caden, Seraphine, and Zephyr dedicated themselves to the daunting task of deciphering the runes. The task was reminiscent of unraveling the tangled threads of an arcane tapestry, one they hoped would weave light back into their dimming world. Caden was overcome by the intricacies etched into the stone, his fingers moving over the patterns as if in a trance. "It's like they're speaking to each other," he mused aloud, his voice thick with curiosity. Zephyr perched nearby, his ears flicking as if attempting to catch a whispered answer. Speaking or bickering? Magic's got a way of being more cryptic than a fox in a henhouse. Despite his jests, the seriousness of their mission wasn't lost on him. Caden knew that even a wily fox spirit wasn't immune to the valley's plight. Seraphine maintained her steadfast presence, standing guard as Caden continued his work. Her eyes scanned the perimeter, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something dark was encroaching upon their sheltered haven, something that sought to unravel their endeavors before they began. Hours slipped by, close to an eternity, before Caden finally let out a relieved breath. "I think I've found something," he announced, excitement painting his words with eager brushstrokes. "Well, do tell, dear prophet," Zeph drawled, feigning impatience but unable to hide the keen interest brightening his gaze. Pointing to a series of intricate carvings, Caden explained, "This sequence of symbols speaks of a renewal, a source that binds the magic to the land. But it mentions a missing element, something called the Heartstone." "The Heartstone?" Seraphine echoed, her face a mask of contemplation. "A myth, a legend older than the valley itself." The warrior cast her thoughts back to tales of power, locked in the heart of the Forest of Umbers. Or so it was rumored. "Looks like we have our next destination," Zeph quipped, a trace of adventure underscoring his words. "Can't be much harder than talking to rocks, right?" Though the prospect was daunting, Caden felt a renewed sense of purpose. They had direction now, something to chase amidst the shadows. Their quest was far from over, but with each step taken together, the flickering hope in Caden's heart seemed to glow a little brighter. For the sake of the Shimmering Valley, they would venture into the unknown, follow the winds to the Forest of Umbers, and unlock the secrets of the Heartstone. The Forest of Umbers was known far and wide as a place of mystery and foreboding, its existence more legend than reality to the people of Lysoria. Yet for Caden, Seraphine, and Zephyr, it was their next hope on this perilous journey. Its roots and branches seemed to weave a labyrinthine maze, where shadows wove stories as ancient as the land itself. "So this Heartstone," Zeph mumbled, bobbing up and down as he strolled ahead, "it's just lying around waiting for us to grab it, right? No big bad guardian or secret passwords needed?" "Unlikely," Seraphine rebutted, though her trademark stoicism was tinged with a smirk at the fox spirit's usual bravado. "The Heartstone has always been depicted as closely guarded, but no one has seen it for generations." Caden scanned the surroundings, their path barely illuminated by the dim light filtering through the dense canopy. If stories are to be believed, it's meant to reflect the bearer's true intentions. He recited from memory, envisioning the runes that had led them here. He paused, considering his words. Only those worthy can wield its magic to bind the valley once more. Their mission crackled with the weight of bygone ages, histories echoing through the very soil they traversed. Yet the further they ventured into the forest's embrace, the more palpable the darkness became. It coiled through the air like smoke from an unseen fire. Suddenly, the forest hushed in anticipation, causing all three of the travelers to take notice. Without warning, shadows leaped at them from the underbelly of the trees, formless and relentless. Acting on instinct, Seraphine reacted with precision. Her blade met the shadow's edge, a defiant spark illuminating the dark. "Stay behind me," she commanded, her voice the only solid thing in the chaos. The shadow creatures swirled around them, their intent menacing and chaotic. Amid the frenzy, Caden rallied his thoughts, reaching for the burgeoning magic deep within. In a whispered incantation, he summoned glimmering tendrils of light, sending them spiraling outward in a dazzling array that pushed the darkness back. With a collective breath, the shadows recoiled, retreating into the deeper recesses of the forest like a night tide ebbing. Caden, breathless but invigorated, met Seraphine's approving nod. "Seems like the Heartstone isn't the only one reflecting true intentions," she remarked. and Zeph, less flippant now, quirked a brow as he surveyed the lingering gloom. "So what's next, O Master of Light Shows?" Caden grinned, his fear replaced by a rising courage. "We keep going. The Heartstone's close. I can feel it. We just need to prove we're worthy." Together, with renewed determination, they ventured deeper into the mysteries of the Forest of Umbers, ready to uncover the truth waiting in its dark recesses. As the trio delved deeper into the heart of the Forest of Umbers, the air grew thicker and the silence more oppressive, each step forward laden with an unspoken tension. The path wound through gnarled trees and undergrowth, the ground below them giving sporadic hints of hidden stones, whispering of a trail once well-trodden but now lost to time. Caden felt an inexplicable pull leading them onward, a soft hum that seemed to resonate with his heartbeat. It was as if the forest itself was aware of their purpose, leading them through its secrets and shadows to their elusive prize. Zephyr, uncharacteristically quiet, trotted close by, his ears flicking as if catching fragments of a distant melody. "Not gonna lie," he said finally, voice softer than usual, "it feels like something's watching us." Seraphine nodded, her hand resting reflexively on the hilt of her sword. "The forest is awake, testing us perhaps. We should remain on guard." It wasn't long before their path opened into a clearing, a place seemingly untouched by time and darkness. At its center was an ancient altar, overgrown with moss and vivid flora that glowed faintly, emitting a gentle warmth. Resting upon it was a stone unlike any they'd ever seen, a heart-shaped piece that shimmered with an ethereal light, pulsating gently as if alive. Caden's breath caught. "The Heartstone," he whispered, awe coloring his tone. "We found it." Zephyr padded closer, eyes wide. "And no snarling trolls or traps? Just sitting there like a piece of forgotten laundry?" But Seraphine was already advancing cautiously, her gaze wary. "Caden, approach slowly," she advised. "This is where intentions are tested. Show it your heart." With a steadying breath, Caden stepped forward. His intentions were pure, driven by the desire to restore the valley's enchantment and protect those he loved. The closer he got, the more he felt the Heartstone's thrumming, resonating with the magic within him. As he reached out, touching the stone with an outstretched hand, the forest around them seemed to exhale a gentle breeze, rustling leaves and caressing skin like a lover's breath. For a heart-stopping moment, everything held its breath. Then the Heartstone flared to life, casting radiant light that painted their faces with vibrant colors, reaching out to entwine with Caden's innate magic. In that moment, he felt a connection not only to the stone or his companions, but to the valley itself, a deep, ancient bond renewing its vow through him. "Well," Zeph finally spoke, breaking the spell with his usual flippancy, though his voice was reverent, "looks like you passed the entrance exam." But Caden knew that the journey was far from over. Though they'd found the Heartstone, harnessing its power would require more than just a pure heart. It demanded understanding, wisdom, and a courage he was only beginning to comprehend. Together, they would prove their worth, bind the valley's enchantment once again, and write their own legend within the annals of Lysoria. With the Heartstone secured and its gentle light enveloping them in a halo, the journey back to Lysoria began. Their earlier path hadn't vanished, but the returning trek felt lighter, the air less oppressive, as if the forest acknowledged their success and granted them safe passage. Despite this, Caden's mind was a whirlpool of thoughts and questions. "So we've got the Heartstone," he mused aloud, breaking the tranquil silence with a hint of uncertainty. "How do we use it to renew the enchantment?" Zephyr, ever the optimist, bounded ahead, his paws disturbingly silent against the leafy carpet. "Well, you've got the magic touch," the fox spirit chirped. "Wave your hands around, say some funky words, and voila! Sparkly Valley." Seraphine chuckled, a rare sound from the taciturn sentinel. "There's more to it, of course," she noted, nodding affirmatively. "We'll need to consult the elders, the ones versed in the old magic. They'll know how to guide your power, Caden." Caden nodded, grateful for the support of his companions. "I hope they do. We can't afford mistakes, not with time running against us." Even as he spoke, a sense of urgency crackled around them. Though he'd connected with the Heartstone, the valley's enchantment needed more than just possession. It required perfect execution. Their arrival in Lysoria was met with a buzz of anticipation. The villagers gathered, whispers spreading like wildfire as they caught sight of the glowing heartstone in Caden's hands. The elders appeared amidst the throng, their somber faces lined with the wisdom of ages. Elder Seal, the most ancient of them all, stepped forward with a pace both regal and deliberate. "You have done well, young dreamer," he intoned, his eyes alight with hope. Caden smiled hesitantly, adjusting the heartstone's weight in his grip. "We found it," he replied. "But how do we use it?" "We must perform the ritual of renewal," Elder Seal explained, his fellow elders nodding in agreement. "It is a ceremony that will require the strength of our community, and your bond with the heartstone to restore the enchantment." Seraphine stepped forward. "What must we do?" The elder gestured toward the central square, already coming alive with preparations. "When the moon reaches its zenith, we shall gather and call upon the ancient words, but it is your connection, Caden, that will guide the magic to flow anew." The night promised a gathering on a scale unseen in generations, the promise of renewal bridging the divide between hope and despair. Within Caden, nerves buzzed like 1,000 fireflies, but he drew strength from the immutable bond of friendship and the weighty trust placed upon him. As the village prepared under a twilight tapestry, the magic of the valley shimmered on the brink, waiting for the moment that would decide its fate. Together, they would dance between light and shadow, forging new connections under the night's watchful eye. The waning light of day painted the village in shades of gold and crimson, as if fortifying Lysoria's spirit with the colors of courage. Every villager was immersed in preparation, from the elders weaving banners of hope from enchanted silks, to children giggling as they strung together garlands of luminescent petals. Caden stood at the center of the square, the heartstone still cradled reverently in his palms. Around him, the villagers moved with a tangible energy, each task a stitch in the tapestry of their shared fate. Zephyr leapt up beside him, his eyes reflecting the molten sunset. "You ready to be the star of this little showcase?" he teased, but there was a note of sincerity beneath his usual jest. "Everyone's counting on you, Lightbringer." Caden chuckled, soft but resolute. "It's not just me, it's all of us." Seraphine approached then, her armor gleaming with the glow of the setting sun. "The village stands as one." She reassured him, her gaze a steadfast anchor amidst the swirling anticipation. "This isn't just about reclaiming magic, it's about reclaiming hope." The moon ascended its celestial throne just as the village gathered in a huge circle around the square. Elder Kale's voice rose above the whispers, aged yet unwavering. "Tonight, under the celestial watch, we shall weave new threads into our valley's story." With that pronouncement, the villagers began chanting in a lilting cadence, their voices weaving together to form an enchanting melody that wrapped around Caden like a warm cloak. Caden felt his heart synchronize with the rhythm, his breath a counterpoint to the ancient words. Slowly, he raised the heartstone, its luminescence growing with each heartbeat. As the chanting reached a crescendo, he closed his eyes, focusing inward where the bond between him and the heartstone thrived, a vibrant connection that pulsed with life and shared purpose. "Let the light of the past become the beacon of our future," he intoned, his words an invocation that soared on the collective breath of every heart present. The heartstone erupted with light, shooting tendrils of luminescent energy that embraced the square, wove through the villagers, and soared overhead. Each strand was a promise, swearing allegiance to the land and its people. The ground beneath Caden's feet vibrated with the weight of magic flowing back into the valley, the pulse of enchantment intertwining with the very soul of Lysoria. A hushed awe descended upon the assembly as the light receded, leaving a sense of wholeness. A restoration of the valley's essence returned. Zephyr's throat deftly hit a crack of emotion. "Looks like we found our sparkle again," he whispered, eyes filled with genuine reverence. And as the night deepened in its star-filled embrace, Caden knew that their journey had not just been about renewal. It had bound them together, a testament to the resilience that thrived in shadows and shone even brighter in the light. The village of Lysoria basked in the afterglow of magic's return, each home and heart newly intertwined with the shimmering essence that now thrummed through the valley. The days passed under the gentle warmth of renewal, with lush vegetation springing forth and creatures of legend returning to their once dormant homes. For Caden, the glow of success was accompanied by a deepening sense of purpose, his connection to the land now a guiding force. Yet in quiet moments, he couldn't shake a feeling, a whisper at the edge of his thoughts that suggested their journey wasn't yet complete. Zephyr mirthfully pranced beside Caden as they strolled through the brightened pathways. "What's got you so pensive? We did it! World saved, valley sparkling, and all that jazz." Caden nodded, smiling at his companion's infectious optimism. "But it feels like the story isn't done," he mused, casting a glance toward the horizon, where the Ravenspire forest danced under a vibrant sky, like something still out there, waiting for us to uncover. Seraphine, ever a sentinel, joined their walk, her presence as reassuring as always. "The valley may be renewed," she acknowledged, "but we have become part of its legacy now. Perhaps there are parts of its magic yet to be explored." The trio's musings were interrupted by the arrival of Elder Seal, his gaze twinkling beneath brows furrowed in contemplation. "Young Dreamweaver," he called, beckoning them over to a stone circle where the heart of Lysoria's core magic lay. "We have received messages," Kale continued, "ripples through the magic that speak of disturbances beyond our borders, echoes from the time before enchantment." The words sent a shiver along Caden's spine, a thrill of anticipation mingled with foreboding. "Can we ignore them?" Zephyr interjected, though the excitement in his stance was undeniable. Kale shook his head slowly. "There are forces that still hunger for this magic. Forces that may seek to unravel what has been reborn. Civilization beyond our valley may have been touched by these beads of chaos." Caden, Seraphine, and Zephyr exchanged looks, a silent conversation of shared understanding. They knew their role had evolved from saving just their valley to venturing beyond, to stand as guardians against whatever dark shadows might seek to encroach upon their legacy. "Then it seems our journey isn't over after all," Caden said, a resolve taking root alongside their new purpose. Kale smiled, a father's pride in his distant eyes. "The Shimmering Valley was only the beginning. Guard well, forge ahead, and light the path your heart leads you to." With those blessings, Caden felt the parting of ways, between the childhood he'd left behind and the path of the Protector embraced. With Seraphine's steely courage and Zephyr's unwavering zest for life, they were ready to face whatever mysteries lay beyond Lysoria's borders, their fates entwined with the magic that bound them all. The sun rose in hues of gold and lavender, casting long shadows as Caden, Seraphine, and Zephyr prepared to leave the familiar embrace of Lysoria. The village had gathered to bid them farewell, waves of intertwined emotions pulsing through the gathered crowd, their faith resting on the shoulders of the young Dreamweaver and his indomitable friends. Before departing, Elder Kale presented Caden with a small talisman, crafted from the Heartstone's radiant fragments. "This will guide you," he promised, "and remind you of your connection to us, no matter where the path takes you." The talisman thrummed with a comforting warmth in Caden's palm, a tangible link to the valley's heart and its people's hopes. "We will return," Caden vowed, his voice strong yet laced with the vulnerability of departure, "and will ensure the magic here remains untouched." As they journeyed past the village's protective boundaries, the path morphed into the unfamiliar, the trees taller, the air different. With each step, the camaraderie between them solidified, transforming into a unified front against whatever awaited them. "Any bets on what we'll find first?" Zephyr asked, his lightheartedness a balm against the encroaching uncertainties. Seraphine tapped the hilt of her sword, her instincts on alert. "Bandits, wraiths, or perhaps something of legend yet unknown," she offered, a glint of excitement in her usually composed demeanor. The forest opened up to a vast meadow, a sea of colors that danced under the light breeze. But amid the beauty lay signs of disturbance, the earth scarred, as if something immense had passed through recently. Caden knelt, pressing his hand against the warm earth. "There's magic here," he noted, detecting the residue of enchantment tinged with an unfamiliar tempestuousness. Zephyr sniffed the air, ears alert. Something? Or someone, playing with forces they don't completely understand. Their trail led them further into a realm of untamed wilds, past where cautious creatures fled at their approach. It was as if they approached a forbidden domain, the air growing denser with a magical resonance that Caden could feel humming in his bones. "There," Seraphine pointed, eyes narrowing at the edge where forest kissed open space, revealing a mysterious, sprawling structure overgrown with vines and thyme. "An old fortress," Caden surmised, recognizing the architecture from tales spun long before they'd restored the valley. "Ancient, even by our standards." As they approached, a rustling presence swept around them. Shadows pulsed, watching their progress with an intelligence that belied its nature. Caden's heart pounded like a drum, alerting him to the gravity of their discovery. Whatever lay within the fortress was linked to the disturbances, the echoes that called to them across the veil of the known world. And as the trio stood before the threshold of old stones and hidden secrets, they sensed the true enormity of their ambition. Beyond the gates lay answers, tests of everything they believed, and the first true steps toward ensuring the magic of the Shimmering Valley would remain eternal. The once mighty fortress loomed before Caden, Seraphine, and Zephyr, like a spectral guardian of secrets untold, its ancient walls whispering tales of forgotten ages. As they crossed the threshold, an invisible veil seemed to draw back, enveloping them in shadows thick with latent power. The air buzzed with arcane energy, a presence that hummed an unfamiliar song. Everywhere they looked, ancient symbols adorned the walls, their meanings obscured by centuries of neglect and mystery. "This place feels alive," Zephyr murmured, his voice barely a whisper, as if louder sounds would awaken the dormant behemoth beneath their feet. Caden nodded, his senses attuned to the fluctuating magic enveloping them. Each step forward felt like walking on the fragile edge between realms. Seraphine led the way with the grace of a hunter, her movements decisive and deliberate. "We need to determine what's been awakened and how it's affecting the lands," she declared, her resolve as steadfast as steel. As they ventured deeper, echoes of the past surged around them, illuminating flashes of time where sorcery had reigned supreme. It led them to a colossal chamber at the heart of the fortress, where a faded mural stretched from floor to ceiling, depicting legendary figures entwined with elemental forces. "It's a pact," Caden observed, tracing the mural's intricate lines with reverent fingers. "A bond forged between this place and the fabric of the world." Zephyr's ears twitched nervously. "A pact that seems to have frayed," he suggested, gesturing to sections where the painting seemed distorted, warped by time or disruption. Suddenly, the ground trembled with a low rumble that reverberated through their bones. Shadowy specters flickered in and out of existence around them, fragments of ancient spells manifesting as guardians. And from those shadows emerged a being draped in robes as dark as midnight, eyes gleaming with ethereal light. "Who dares disturb the sanctity of the Fates' enclave?" the figure intoned, their voice echoing with ages past. Caden stepped forward, heart pounding, yet the talisman at his chest glowed with the warmth of the valley's unity. "We come seeking to restore balance," he responded, his voice both a pledge and a plea. The being regarded them, eyes like stars flickering in the vast void. This place was bound to protect the balance of magic. If you seek restoration, you must prove your worthiness to wield true power. A trial commenced, one not of strength, but of spirit and understanding. They faced challenges echoing their deepest fears and greatest hopes, confronting visions that laid bare their most guarded intentions. In the end, it was their unity, Caden's pure-hearted leadership, Seraphine's unwavering loyalty, and Zephyr's spirited courage that sustained them through the trials. The bonds they had forged throughout their journey resonated with the heart of the Enclave, weaving a new tapestry of understanding and acceptance. The specter spoke once more, its presence shifting from formidable to benevolent. "You have proven yourselves guardians worthy not only of this valley, but of the magic that pulses throughout these lands." With a flourishing gesture, the chamber filled with light, and the oppressive weight of imbalance unfurled into harmony. The disturbance quelled, the promise of stable magic secured, the once slumbering pact renewed in unimaginable ways. As the fortress faded to nothingness around them, the trio found themselves standing on the crest of a hill overlooking the reborn Shimmering Valley, its heart a beacon of vibrant life. "Looks like we did it," Zephyr exclaimed, his voice filled with awe and mirth. Caden glanced at his friends, gratitude and pride shining through every part of him. "Guardians," he said softly, Understanding the path ahead was as infinite as the dusk setting in a pastel swirl over their valley. Thus ended their initial quest, but not their journey, as new stories beckoned, infused with the magic of friendship, bravery, and a timeless commitment to protect and cherish the lands that bound them to a legend greater than their own.